Hello and welcome to Big Nostalgia, the podcast that looks into games from our childhood. I'm Vicky.
And I'm Phil.
We have been looking at games this season from the Wii and the GameCube. We look at the games very in detail. We like to look into the development, when they came out, what we like from them, what we don't like from them, and specifically Vicky likes hearing about the quirks because that's always interesting from my point of view. Today we're going to be looking at a game that came out on the GameCube, the Mario Sunshine. So I'm going to pass it on to Phil.
Thank you. Did you talk about yourself in third person in that intro? Vicky likes the quirks.
Vicky does so.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
It's not a lie.
Super Mario Sunshine, the 3D Mario game, like you say, on the GameCube. It's only one of two games this season which did not get a release on the Wii. The other will be coming up as our season finale in a few weeks. So this game came out on the GameCube in the summer of 2002. We all remember that beautiful summer of 2002.
Oh, yes.
In July in Japan, in August in North America, and then not until October for the EU and Australian releases. This game was then released as part of Super Mario 3D All-Stars on the 18th of September 2020, which is getting to be quite a while ago now. That's almost 2 years, whereas I don't feel like it came out that long ago, the 3D
Feels like
All-Stars.
it was just last week that it came out, to be fair, so I didn't realise it's been out that long.
Well, it's not out anymore. It was a limited time release for some dumb reason.
Really? So you can't just buy it?
You can't buy it anymore.
Oh my goodness. I just assumed that you'd be able to still buy it.
I shouldn't have told you that. I'm not getting my copy back now, am I? Anyway, this game is the first Mario platformer to not be a launch title for its respective system, instead handing that privilege to Luigi for Luigi's Mansion, a game that we never got to play as kids, but between us we've actually played both the sequels, so maybe we'll have to go back to the original someday. But this isn't an episode about Luigi. In fact, he's not even in this game. This is all about our main man, Mario. Before I start, one thing I saw talked about online was about how this is the biggest gap between main series Mario games, as it's 6 years after Super Mario 64. But it really depends how you cut it, as for console Mario games, it was also 6 years between Super Mario World and Super Mario 64, and then it was a further 5 years between Sunshine and Galaxy. Anyway, I digress. We had the same debate on the Skyward Sword episode a few episodes ago. So, let's go to how this game came together. So, following the release of Super Mario 64, there was always an ambition to make a sequel, because it was a launch title. They had, Ocarina of Time wasn't even a launch title, and that got a sequel in the N64. So they wanted to see what they could do with the power. If you remember our Super Mario 64 episode from a couple of years ago, they didn't even use the full power of the N64 on that game. They only used half of it. So they started this work on what was being known as either Super Mario 64 2 or Super Mario 128. This is separate from the Super Mario 128 demo we talked about in the Pikmin episode. This is before that. That demo at the time was also mistaken for a Mario 64 sequel, but we'll get into more the history of that demo. We've talked about it a bit in the Pikmin episode. We'll talk about it a bit today. We'll talk about it a bit when we cover Galaxy as well. The sequel to Mario 64 was going to be Shigeru Miyamoto's final game where he acted as director. It was apparently in development for many years, or at least several prototypes were developed by Nintendo EAD across the years, in a similar way to how Super Mario 64 was developed. This sequel was mentioned as in development at E3 1996, and one of the motivators was that Super Mario 64, like I say, Super Mario 64 didn't use the full power of the Nintendo 64. The sequel also would have used the power of the Nintendo 64 DD add-on, but then when that didn't perform to expectations, it didn't sell very well, that was and it didn't even get released outside Japan, so those plans were dropped. In early 1998, this game was supposedly midway through development, but it was shelved. It ended up being shelved due to the amount of time that Ocarina of Time was taking to be developed, and since Miyamoto was directing that game as well, he simply didn't have the time to work on the Mario 64 sequel, although it was kind of his It was his passion project. Eventually, the project was restarted for the GameCube, which is where that Super Mario 128 demo, which everyone knows, with all the Marios still on the platform, that's where that came from. This demo was actually directed by Yoshiaki Koizumi. There is more on the Mario 128 project, it's really interesting. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video about its development. We also talk about it more in some later episodes this season, because despite what people thought for a long time, that demo is nothing to do with Super Mario Sunshine. The Mario 128 tech demo eventually spawned two projects, a Mario 128 project and a project called the 100 Marios project. Yoshiaki Koizumi then started on a third Mario project, and then this third one, which was not related to the demo, is what became Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, okay.
One of these becomes Super Mario Galaxy, and we'll come back to this when we cover Galaxy in a few weeks. So for Super Mario Sunshine, I've already mentioned that the director was Yoshiaki Koizumi, and he was supported by Takashi Tezuka and Shigeru Miyamoto as the game's producers. This is actually the first game which Koizumi directed, having just been staff on games before. This game was first shown off at Nintendo's Space World event in 2001 in a private showing for journalists, where the footage was requested to be kept confidential. In years following, it was made public and actually can be found on YouTube. This first trailer had some interesting stuff not present in the final game, such as humans and a secondary currency alongside coins, both of which were not in the final game, but interestingly, both would appear in Super Mario Odyssey many, many years later, because obviously Odyssey's got a second currency in every world.
Yeah.
The game was shown off more fully at E3 2002. It was developed in just 18 months, as there was a lot of pressure on Nintendo at the time to release first-party titles for the Nintendo GameCube.
Sunshine was only made in 18 months?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's an extreme... From what I understand, that's an extremely tight schedule.
So if you consider that Majora's Mask was made in a year, but that they didn't have to make any assets for because they already existed.
That was just a carbon copy. Well, the look of it was, of course, a carbon copy from Ocarina of Time, wasn't it? So it was just the world and the story and like the mechanics they had to work out. They didn't have to worry about creating any content.
Well, they didn't have to create any new character models, and even like
the guy running around the main clock town and stuff like that. It's all the same.
Yeah, and even assets were reused, like the sign from, it had been, Lon Lon Ranch in Ocarina of Time is the same sign they put above the ranch in Majora's Mask. They just reuse the assets because they've got them.
Yeah.
So if you think 18 months total...
And out of all the Mario games for that to happen, this Mario game had the most differences between other Mario games. So a lot of Mario games are quite similar in Bowser comes along, steals Princess Peach, and there's a adventure of some sort. This was the first Mario that actually went down... Am I right in saying that's the first Mario that went down a different path storyline? I mean, Princess Peach does get kidnapped in the end, but I'll let you go into all of that. So out of all of them to do in 18 months, they actually came up with a completely new way of doing Mario.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because actually this was in part because of Yoshiaki Koizumi. He was a film student first and foremost, so he's always wanted to do more with lore and story, which is very funny because he ended up working on a Mario game. But we'll kind of come back a few times as we talk about the 3D Mario games of this era, about Yoshiaki Koizumi and his want to expand the Mario lore. The initial ideas were influenced by Koizumi's childhood memories, such as the experience of a hero jumping from rooftop to rooftop, which influenced Delfino Plaza's kind of layout that you can jump across the roof so easily and like wall jump a lot. And he was influenced by playing in the water for Flood and kind of the general vibe in the gameplay. The idea of using water was very early for the director Koizumi, who imagined it as he saw the GameCube controller, and they started with Mario from Mario 64 as their basis. He felt that the triggers on the GameCube controller were reminiscent of pulling the trigger of a water gun.
Oh, okay.
The graffiti system in the game was actually something they were developing during Mario 64's development as well. Also something that they were playing around with, because they had been playing around with this idea that there was this blank Goomba that you had to draw a face on.
Oh.
Using that kind of graffiti method. They experimented with this system until they had what we see in Super Mario Sunshine. But some of these experimental maps can still be seen in the game's files.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, he felt like the trigger was like a water gun. So he wanted to actually for it to be a water rifle for Mario. But
I can see why that might not have gone down as well in certain demographics and stuff like that. So I'm glad they changed it to Flood. A lot more family-friendly water system apparatus.
Yes. So they were, like you said, they were worried about the age ratings issues, especially in the West. So I've got a quote here from the producer. It said, "Although we call it a water pistol, we tried to design it so that no associations could ever be made between it and actual weapons. So we were trying to design the weirdest and funniest gadget, which turned out to be a water tank that you wear on your back."
Yeah, I've got to admit, it is a reasonably funny looking apparatus. It's like a scuba diving thing.
Almost, yeah.
But obviously wrong.
It's the wrong way round because it's full of water, not protecting you from water.
Yeah.
At one point during development, it was suggested to game press that Yoshi would be able to talk, but this isn't in the game.
Has Yoshi?
He talks in Super Mario 64.
Does he? What does he say? What, he just goes Yoshi?
No, when you go up and find him on the roof, when you get 120 stars, bear in mind, it's more he is just talking on behalf of the developers, because it's like "Oh, nice to see you, Mario. Thank you for getting all 120 stars and coming up to see me."
Oh, so it's not like a proper... Yeah, that's more like a thank you rather than a proper talking system.
Yeah, in that, I always think he's like just a proxy for the developers, really. There was also sprinkler and firework nozzles considered, but they were scrapped in favour of polishing the 4 nozzle heads that the game does have. In fact, at one point, 10 different nozzles for Flood were being considered.
Goodness.
A dummy of one of them is still in the game code, and when activates, it sprays water behind Mario, both to get enemies and to provide a speed boost. So that's actually pretty similar to one that does end up in the game. So we should say, if you've seen our Skyward Sword episode, there are some games this season where not both of us have played them as kids.
Yeah, we have big nostalgia and little nostalgia. This week, I am little nostalgia.
So this is the second of the 2 games this season. The first one was Skyward Sword. So I will say you may not have come across them all.
To be fair, I think I've done reasonably well, but I haven't come across any nozzles yet.
Well, you've come across the 2 default ones, which is the spray nozzle.
Yeah, and the jetpack one.
The hover nozzle.
Yeah.
Have you come across the rocket nozzle, which shoots you straight upwards?
See, I know there's certain bits in the game that needs it. I looked into, because I got really far, in the main Dill Plaza bit, there is a shine. If you clean off the main shine, the really big shine that's in the centre. Now, I worked up how to wall jump up to that area to clean it. But then the shine came up and it was like, yeah, got a shine. What the monkeys is it doing all the way up there? How am I supposed to get that? So I did look up how to get it, because I was like, it's there. I can see it. And I was like, oh, okay, technically I shouldn't be able to do this. It just looked wall climbable, so I had to explore. So yeah, I knew about that one.
And there's also the rocket nozzle, which is very similar to the one that we were describing that was found in the code.
Oh, it goes behind you and shoots you off?
It just shoots you forwards.
Oh, so it's good in races and whatnot.
Sorry, the turbo nozzle shoots you forward, the rocket nozzle shoots you upwards.
Ah, yes.
The hover nozzle actually almost didn't make it in either, as the developers were worried it made the game too easy, which is why when you go into secret levels, it's taken away. But I think it's balanced quite well, really, because it doesn't go forever.
Well, I think if the hover nozzle lifted you up so you could get to higher ledges with it, that would be too easy.
Yeah.
And the fact that, so you have to do a certain jump and then hit it to make it usable as to get you up to higher levels. Also, the fact that both standard nozzles have a time limit means that you can't just, if you had a cheat code, say, that was infinite water or whatever, or infinite nozzle usage, then I could see how you could use it. But because of those limitations, I don't think it makes the game too... I think the game is reasonably hard, so...
Yeah. So I think it was a good decision because I think it can help when you overdo a jump or a bit short, and it can just help you correct things. And I've always seen it as a precursor to the spin jump from Galaxy.
I know that I've only had 2 of the nozzles experience, but I do like the hover nozzle more because it is quite satisfying being on a high ledge, seeing all this like gunk and stuff, and just kind of flying over, just aerial hitting them from below. And it has helped me out in certain situations, as I said, just to get higher.
Yeah. No, I think it's really useful for that. At one point in development, it was considered that Mario or Yoshi might spurt water from their mouths.
It would have been interesting to see Mario do it.
Yeah, so...
Like Exorcist.
Like Yoshi has, in the final game, has juice that he spurts at enemies instead. I mean, that's still weird, but yeah, like Mario... If like Mario was going blah, and then hopping on Yoshi and Yoshi's going blah...
I don't know, just like you'd picture like maybe a horror where Mario like just does this really big smile and his jaw just suddenly goes all the way back and it just goes blah, like the Exorcist or whatever it is. But like, yeah, that sort of effect, and you just be like, holy moly, what's going on here?
So the
something's wrong with Mario, Daddy. Ah!
I don't want to play the Mario game anymore.
You're gonna play the Mario game. You must experience all Mario. But it's freaking me out.
The water effect of Flood is achieved by putting a lot of bubble sprites together, which can never be seen in-game. But if there's a boundary break video where he pulls the camera around to the side, and it just, from the side, Mario spraying Flood, it's just a lot of bubble sprites going one after the other.
Fair enough.
But when you look at it from the back, it looks like a flow of water.
Yeah, fair enough.
One of those things where it's quite clever how they pull off these visual effects. I think there's a few more things like that I might come back around to when we get to quirks.
Quirks.
Mario has a short-sleeved shirt in this game. This was apparently a subject of debate between the director and the producers, as Mario's clothes don't typically change.
Of course it was.
Which is funny when you think nowadays you've got like Mario Odyssey, Mario Golf, Super Rush, Mario Kart Tour, like... Was it just came out? You know, you got the Mario football games, even the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. And he's got a full wardrobe of different outfits now.
So I could just imagine the production team sitting around in Nintendo going, Mario does not wear short sleeves, but he's on holiday. Why would he be wearing long sleeves? But he's Mario. He does not change his appearance. Be reasonable here.
He's on holiday. Why would he be wearing his overalls at all? This is a compromised position. No, it's not. He doesn't have short sleeves.
He's not wearing sunglasses, is he? He's not wearing a sun hat. So, compromise. I'd just love to see the email. Like, of course, it's Japanese, so I wouldn't be able to read them, but I'd just love to see, like, the English equivalent of the emails going backward and forward at Nintendo. Some of their emails must just be hilarious just because of the content.
So, yeah, it must be, like, interesting to be a fly on the wall, especially when it's, like, stuff like that, where it's, like, to an onlooker, you're like, why is this such a big subject of debate? But obviously, when it's like such a big name and things, every decision is...
Oh, yeah, and let's be honest, these guys have basically created certain produce at Nintendo, so these are like their children, their babies. It's just like every little detail matters, and that's something that I've always admired from Nintendo, that they do put a lot of thought and effort to everything. What I personally feel, as obviously a Nintendo fan, they put a lot of thought and effort into a lot of things, a lot of details that some people don't even consider, like short-sleeved or long-sleeved.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real interesting one they get into such details. Speaking again of Odyssey, a game which has come up a few times already and may come up a few more times, the developers apparently felt Mario didn't jump enough in Mario 64 or use his wall jumps enough. So originally the hub world had closer together, more realistic buildings, which again kind of harks back to Odyssey, which ends up with realistic looking levels. But I think it's also interesting that the hub world, and I do think this is still achieved in the final game, as like a play area, almost, where you can try different techniques, and it's all very built into the terrain. It's not like, welcome to the wall jump section, this is where you practice wall jumps. It's like, No, the buildings are close together. I'm going to wall jump. I like Delfino Plaza. I think it's well designed. As with almost every 3D Mario game, there's evidence that multiplayer was considered. This time with a camera, which when switched on, will zoom out to keep Mario and Shadow Mario both in frame. So that would be the multiplayer camera. So they were working on it, but like all Mario games before, New Super Mario Bros. Wii in the 2D space, or Super Mario 3D World in the 3D space, they just weren't able to get it working.
Which is fair enough.
And again, as I said, this game had a very rushed development. There was quite a lot of stuff left out. Some of it will come to under quirks. And the thing about rushed games as well, and it's true of this game, it's true of a game we'll be covering later in the season, is when a game has a rushed release, there's a lot usually of assets and unused stuff still in the code because they don't have the time to go and take it all out. Which is why often a game that, like a slightly rushed game, can be like a goldmine for going through and finding all like these assets and stuff, because it's almost like if you were in a rush and didn't have a chance to tidy your room, that kind of thing, compared to like if you had plenty of time.
If you think about all the stuff that might be on the floor compared to a chance to actually tidy the floor before you leave.
Exactly, yeah. So on to characters. This is a Mario game, so there's your standard characters of Mario, Peach, Toads, Bowser, Yoshi. We also have some new additions to the cast, such as Toadsworth, the older moustached Toad. Bowser Jr. is also introduced in this game, and it features new races that have become pretty standard in Mario, which is the Pianta and Dunkey.
See, for me, because I never played this on the GameCube, the fact that my first introduction to Bowser Jr. was probably Smash.
What, Smash 4?
No, I must have seen
it must have been
then.
Maybe Galaxy or New Super Mario Bros.
Oh, he is in Galaxy, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'd say probably Galaxy was the first time I saw Bowser Jr., so I never really thought about the first game he was in. So once you find that out, which is quite early on in this game, I thought this was a good sort of layout for him to have his sort of moment in his son. No pun intended. But first introduction to the world. It's not a bad game to choose for him, and I like him as a character. I do like Bowser Jr. as a character.
Yeah, it added to the already confusing Bowser family, because obviously the Mario World games had Bowser's, at the time, kids, question mark.
What, of like minions?
More, well, that's what they canonically are now. They're just his kind of minions.
Yeah, he's the only one who's actually a direct descendant now. The others all seem to be, maybe they're like cousins or second cousins.
Yeah.
Twice removed nephews.
And do you remember the mini Bowsers, the baby Bowsers from Mario Party 2 as well? Like the Mario Party series had like those as well, which were again something completely different. So very, very confusing family structure in the Bowser household. Hey,
if anyone has or has created a Bowser family tree, please link it in below, because that would be funny to see. And I'm sure there's one out there.
Yeah, let us know that the Bowser family tree, the extended Bowser family. We're interested to know. But anyway, back to the Pianta and the Dunkey. So, in Japanese, the Pianta are called the Monty, which means mountain. And they are shaped like mountains, and they are more physical than Mario.
Oh.
And they will throw Mario around and things like that. The Dunkey, which is Japanese for mare, which in Japanese are called the mare, which means the sea, and they have shells in their design.
Fair enough.
Not forgetting Il Piantissimo, who we were talking about before we started recording.
We did, yes.
Who is a racer.
I've recently done one of his levels where you have to race him to a flagpole, and he was, even when I knew what I needed to do, he was still rather annoying. But he obviously, by the looks of him, is wearing, I'm hoping, like a cardboard face. Or like a costume rather than a dead resident that he put the skin on.
Oh god, you've just made that character incredibly dark, potentially.
I have. An interesting fact, aside from that questionable character design about him, if you get 120, all with the suns, at the end of the game, there's a little clip that shows this character picking up Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush. So I'm not sure where they were going with that. They obviously haven't gone anywhere with that, but it's still a little interesting tidbit.
If they make Sunshine 2 one day, he can be the villain.
Yeah, you never know.
Did you look up the trivia on what the character looks like underneath?
See, that's the whole point. I looked up the information about it, but he didn't have a picture of him that I could see.
You can't. It doesn't come up in the game. You can't see it in regular gameplay. But if you go under his mask, he is the Postman from Zelda.
No, that is so funny.
Yeah,
that Postman.
Because he's a running man.
He's a running man. Dun dun dun. I like that. No, I definitely think their residence is skin now, because I found that fact out.
That's very creepy.
The Postman can't be trusted.
It's interesting because he's actually, I think he might, well, aside from the main cast, I think he might be one of the only human characters that you encounter in the game, which is interesting because at one point during development, human characters were planned for El Delfino, and this can be seen in early game footage. But again, this wouldn't happen in a Mario game until Odyssey on the Nintendo Switch.
We could have a whole video of just how weird that is.
Yeah, I know, right? Because what's Mario in that case?
I know, right?
Because he doesn't look like them.
But anyway, no, he does not look like them. Anyway,
the biggest new character is arguably Flood.
Yes.
We've already talked about the development of the system, but the water pack can talk, and it guides you through the game, and it's part of the tutorial, and guides you through the adventure. So now the story. So it's funny, because usually in a Mario episode of Big Nostalgia, the story is the point where we go, you all know what we're about to say.
It's Mario.
Whereas this time...
the story, but yeah.
This time it's a bit different. So Mario, Peach and the gang go on holiday to Isle Delfino.
They should have known that it was going to go wrong. Because
they're
not allowed to go on holiday. They're not allowed to have days off.
When they arrive, they find the island has been terrorized by a Mario lookalike called Shadow Mario. The townsfolk accuse Mario of causing the damage, and the court finds him guilty with an extremely rigged trial. Which
is just really rude. He literally gets off the plane and is just like, no, prison, you fail, you're guilty. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that public defender was not doing it.
Well, I half expect the character of Mario to have, like, a ball and chain around his leg for the game.
Or a little bleeping light. 'Cause he's under some kind of house arrest.
Island arrest.
He tries to leave, they'll know.
He tries to leave and they blow him up.
Mario is sentenced to community service to clean up all the messes. Shadow Mario turns up and kidnaps Peach after you collect your first few shines.
Because of course he does.
Mario catches up with Shadow Mario in Pianta Park, where it turns out Shadow Mario is actually Bowser Jr., Bowser's never-seen-before son, who thinks Peach is his mother, which is just very weird.
And questionable. Just lots of questions, really.
Yes, lots of questions are raised at this point. Mario defeats the Mecha Bowser that Bowser Jr. is riding on, and Jr. escapes with Peach to Corona Mountain. In Corona Mountain, Mario uses the rocket nozzle to confront Bowser and Jr. in a hot tub. And then he destroys the hot tub to win the game, and everyone continues their holiday.
Obviously, that's the way you defeat Bowser when he's on holidays in a hot tub. Why
it
not?
might be the weirdest final boss of any Mario game.
Well, you just described it and it already sounds weird, let alone playing it.
Yeah. And it's like Mario, I can't be asked to do my usual boss fight today. Can you just come over to my house and we'll go here?
I'm currently chilling. I'm having a relax. Sure, I'll fight you, but do I have to get out of the hot tub? No? Cool, we can make this work.
So, going on to kind of the audio-visual design of the game, this game continues the sandbox-style gameplay of Super Mario 64, but it's developed further, including a lot of the movesets from Mario 64, plus some new stuff. Although, Mario can't crouch or long jump in this game, which always catches me off guard, because long jumping, I always do.
Yes. Yeah, every time I get to somewhere that I cannot reach, I go to crouch, And, of course, he doesn't crouch every time. Yeah. There's one that you can do like his dive move, can't you? And you can spam that if you want to. But I always forget which button does that. So I always end up changing my nozzle, squirting a bit of water, and then working out which one it is. But it's just not... I use crouch so often in Mario games. It's weird not having it. I understand why you don't have it, but it's still weird not having it.
Yeah. Long jumps for me, I see as like being really staple in the 3D Marios. And I think this might be the only... To my knowledge, it's the only 3D Mario that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So it was really weird. Because just instinctively, I was like, oh, I can cross that gap with a long jump. But the game wants you obviously to use the hover nozzle. To get the look of the game right, staff looked at lots of pictures of resorts and invited travel agents into the office to discuss the resort aesthetic.
Oh, of course he did. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Some staff even made sure their holidays were to resorts so they could check them out.
I am technically working right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's market research.
Yeah, I am scouting out resort ideas. Now get me another drink.
I was going to go for a jungle holiday. No, you're going to the resort. we're only approving time off.
I wasn't going to go on holiday. No, you're going to a resort now, and you'll all like it. Oh, if you insist. Hey, Dave, this is like your 5th resort in like 3-4 months. I'm doing research.
You want the game to be good, right? Dave, we're on a really tight time pressure here.
Yeah, 18 months. Freaking Dave.
So, this game has, compared to other 3D Mario games, this game has one of the least numbers of levels. Which levels do you remember?
Right, I'm never very good with names, but I can do places. So, you got the one in the first one you go into that's connected to the statue.
You mean the hub? Delfino Plaza?
No. As in, you get into Delfino Plaza.
You get in via the statue.
You get in
That's Bianco Hills.
Yep. Then you've got the other statue that's round the side of the building, past the market, across the sand, by a couple of little, platform bits that I think come into play later to get nozzles and stuff like that. It's right by the water, and it's on another No, it's on a lighthouse.
It's on a building.
Yeah, a building, a lighthouse.
Okay, there's one on the side of a lighthouse. There is another one on the side of the building where you trade in the blue coins.
Yes, there is, isn't there? And then there's the one that's a cannon.
Yes, Pina Park.
There's the one that's a pipe that you have to be Yoshi, on the back of Yoshi, to eat the fruit out of to get in.
Serena Beach, I'm pretty sure.
And there's the one that you look into the light.
Noki Bay.
Yeah, I really like the design of that one. I've only done one level in it so far, but I really like the design of it. It felt very peaceful, and I like the kind of leveled up. And then you kind of squirt water at certain bits, and it revealed hidden platforms.
I like that level.
I like that level. I can get my head around that one. What I want to say as well is I really appreciate when I was playing it today. When you go up to a level opening, it becomes it looks like it's sucking you in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you jump into that space, it will pause you in that shape and then turn you into little ink splats and then send you in. Yeah. So I've jumped in backwards.
Yeah.
And you're going to be or sideways or head first. And it doesn't kind of cut to a generic sort of Mario-esque. It will take whatever shape you're jumping and turn it into bubbles, which it's something very small, but I appreciate. I thought, that looks pretty cool.
So, I'll just go through this list first. So you got most of them, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So you've got Delfino Airstrip is technically the first level where you land. Delfino Plaza is the hub. Bianco Hills, which you named. Rico Harbour, which is the harbour level. That's level 2, where you go across the moving cranes and things.
Yeah. Did I get that one?
You said how you get into it.
Yeah, that's one on the side of the building, isn't it?
Gelato Beach, which is the one on the side of the lighthouse.
Yep.
Which is the beach where you've got the...
caterpillar.
Yeah. And also the cataquacks, the ones that knock you straight upwards.
Yeah, which they are in other Marios, aren't they?
They come back in Galaxy.
Okay, so that's how I knew them. I don't think they're a bad enemy, and you can use them very well. They're just relatively annoying.
Yeah, they are an annoyance.
They're more irritating than dangerous.
Yeah, we've got Pina Park, which is where you learn about who Bowser Jr. is, and it's the theme park level.
Oh, the amusement park. Yeah, that's one in the canon.
Yes. Serena Beach, which is the hotel. But I think, the first level is the one with the giant stingray that goes under the ground and you have to spray water on it to kill it.
I haven't completed that level yet.
I don't like Serena Beach at all. I just don't like any of the levels in it.
Well, I've only experienced the Manta Ray one, and I failed multiple times. So, yeah, that place sucks.
Well, the thing is, once you go into the hotel, the problem is it's quite claustrophobic. Okay. Because you're going around inside a building, which is not something typically you do in Mario, which makes it just a bit awkward to get around. And compared to the vast open levels where there's a lot of opportunity for, like we say, like free running and wall jumping and stuff, it just felt a bit restrictive by comparison.
Definitely, if you consider the camera issue in Mario Sunshine, that must be annoying in an inside cramped space.
Well, it's got a free camera. You can still use the C stick to move the camera around.
Yeah, I still think the camera's a bit rubbish in this game. It's
not amazing, no. Anyway, Noki Bay, which you mentioned, which is the waterfall. And then the last one is Pianta Village, which is a level you get into at the top of, you mentioned it already, where the giant shine is. There is a pipe up there, which is the last level.
Oh, fair enough.
And then Corona Mountain, which is where you go to face Bowser, but it's literally just the final level. So in terms of level design then, although that's less levels than you get, that's less levels than even Mario 64 had, but I was really impressed by the variety.
Yes.
They all fit the resort theme.
Yes.
But none of them look very similar. They're all, even like you said, Noki Bay, that's using different colour scheme, basically, to other levels. So you always feel like you're going to new levels rather than just like the same thing again.
But they all feel like they could be connected to the same island. And I like the fact that when you look into the distance, you can see other areas of the island as well. Yes. So it does feel like a complete area. Even though, of course, there's levels that you prefer and levels that you don't prefer, that hub does feel like it just connects the whole entire island together. It feels like a coherent place.
Yes. And
Agreed.
You can almost get a feel for the geography of it, even though obviously you can only reach these levels from the hub.
Yeah.
It still feels like the whole place is connected, which I think is really good. And actually my next point was that, the plaza is a good hub because there's stuff going on in the plaza as well. Like there's people that want fruit delivered. There's obviously Yoshi turns up there. Your other Nozzles turn up there. There's a lot of shines you can get just in Delfino Plaza, like cleaning off the big shine sprite or cleaning the bells. So there is a lot to do, which I think makes it a really good hub.
Agreed.
Makoto Wada, who wrote the script for Animal Crossing, helped with the villager dialogue in Mario Sunshine. I have that as part of the visuals. This is also the first to feature full voice acting, but it's only in English, even in Japan.
Wow, okay.
Every other country gets subtitles. It's only the English voices that are in the game, regardless of where you play.
That's interesting. I wonder why. But
because usually you'd think that you'd get a Japanese dub and an English dub.
Yeah. Like, if you got English, then you're going to get Japanese just because of where Nintendo's based in. So it's weird that it's only English.
Yeah.
Not complaining, but still. Interesting choice.
So, and actually interestingly, as an expansion of that, in the Japanese version, this even went so far as there was on the signs that you can read, like the texture for them in the Japanese version of the game is random English words. But in all the other releases, the international releases, it's changed to random Delfino symbols.
Okay.
There is a constant filter ahead of Mario, which applies the heat rays when you look into the distance. Okay. So if you, again, this is something that you can see if you watch the Boundary Break video, but literally always ahead of the player, if you pull the camera back, there is a screen, like a flat screen, and it's applying the heat waves to everything beyond it.
That's pretty cool.
Which I think is a cool effect.
Well, they have really thought about the graphic and the design of this game. If you consider the time frame of making it of only 18 months, they've used very ingenious ways to make certain effects look from obviously a frontward perspective, which you should only be seeing if you're playing the game. It's only when people break systems and stuff like that you get to see it from their perspective. But
it's done all the time.
Of course it is. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying they, from a frontward perspective, they thought about different ways to make certain effects, which is quite interesting.
It reminds me, have you seen the meme of the software development meme of like the front end, back end? So the front end is a picture of a guy like that. We're chatting over video. Is a guy in front of what looks like an airplane window with a beautiful blue sky behind him.
Oh, I've seen videos of that, and then it's turned out to be like a milk carton or something.
Yeah, and then that says front end and it says back end, and it's zoomed out and it's a guy in front of a toilet seat up with a laptop behind the toilet seat with a screensaver. I've
seen it when it's like a milk carton, like they do it through the little gap part of the handle.
Yeah.
And they just point it towards the sky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yes. The soundtrack of this game is good. It has a lot of new tracks, but also there's a lot of references to older Mario games in the tunes. Whilst a lot of the main world tunes themselves all kind of hark back to the Delfino Plaza theme in some way. Like, that's a common motif throughout all the themes, is that main theme.
I don't think that's a particular bad thing, though, because if you think it's all from the same island, and we've just talked about how all the graphics and all the designs of each of the levels feels coherent, it makes sense to have a certain coherent theme throughout, if you're saying it's all from the same island. So I don't actually see it as a bad thing.
That's what I've got written in my notes here, is that thematically speaking, that's very appropriate because you're trying to build the view that this is a whole island that is connected. So having a common motif running through the soundtrack helps in an interesting way to build that feeling in the player.
Hey, awesome.
And also, just like Super Mario World, when you're riding Yoshi, the music changes and there's a Yoshi variant for every track. And in the game's files, there are even Yoshi variants of tracks where you cannot ride Yoshi in the final game. Because as you know, when you ride Yoshi, it's usually drums in the background or some variation like that.
Yeah.
So, onto the quirks. In this game, rush development, a lot of stuff left on the cutting room floor. I've got a lot of quirks listed, and it's probably not even all of them. So we'd be interested to hear any that I've missed in the comments, because this is a really interesting game from a development standpoint. The cutscene of Flood meeting Mario. When Flood scans Mario, it displays footage of past games and text in the corner. The text is the title of the Mario games written backwards. Some of it is misspelt.
Fair enough.
Flood, Bowser Jr.'s paintbrush, and Luigi's poltergust are canonically both made by EGAD Industries. Though EGAD doesn't appear in Mario Sunshine at all.
But he obviously doesn't mind working for the bad guy.
Well, I think it's implied at some point that Bowser Jr. stole the paintbrush.
I'm going to stick with my comment.
But then EGAD, I don't think, has any problem charging Luigi for upgrades in the game.
Exactly. So he's not exactly...
If you've got enough money, I don't think he argues too much.
Yeah, which is why I'm not changing my comment.
Pina Park used to be part of the hub world and not its own stage. Unused world warps can be found in the game data, as well as objects which would tell the game where to put Mario when he comes back after exiting a stage.
Oh, okay. I'm glad they made it a level.
Because a lot of the levels are variations on, like, the beach, whereas this is a theme park, and I think it adds that nice bit of variety.
And if you think about most of the time these days, there will be an amusement park of some sort near beach, or on the beach, or connected to the beach, so it makes sense.
Or even just visiting the beach.
But it's a nice area to kind of like work on, even if I don't particularly like the levels on it, to a degree. I mean, stupid boats and currently a wheel that needs to slow down, a fun wheel that needs to slow down. But
yeah,
I do think that it was nice to make it its own level, because it is a good level design. I don't think it would have added more to the hub world if it was still connected.
No. We mentioned earlier about Il Piantissimo and your very dark theory about it. And also about the idea of Yoshi and Mario spitting out water. At one point, the consideration was that Mario would spit water out of his mouth, but only whilst wearing a Yoshi head. So in the game's files, you can find just a Yoshi head.
obviously. Mario's dark, man.
And also, interesting what we say about how it feels like one cohesive island, because to help with their visualization, they made a clay model of Isle Delfino. Although the model is different to where stuff ended up in the final game, due to some changes that were made and some of the levels being cut from the final game. Interestingly, just as an aside, do you know why Isle Delfino is the shape that it is?
Because it looks like a dolphin.
Do you know why it's a dolphin?
Yeah, because the name of the original, I want to say it's a GameCube, was going to be called Dolphin. Because there's lots of hints towards dolphin, either the animal or the name, in quite a few of the Mario games since.
Well, it's the name of the ship in Pikmin.
Yeah, I think I touched on it in the Pikmin episode. So,
going back to talk about the levels that were cut, there are level names in the data for unused levels, including levels called Hotel Lacrima, Warship Island, Fire Shrine, and Eruyt Rock.
Fair enough.
I've probably pronounced that terribly, but I don't know what it's supposed to be pronounced like. Corona Mountain was also planned to be a full level with a full set of episodes, but it had to be scaled back, much in a similar way to how Cauldron Keep in Banjo-Tooie was going to be a full world, and they scaled it back. As with most games of this type, there's also a bunch of test rooms still present in the game, which you can find video of if you look on YouTube, which is quite interesting. There are cut enemies from this game, including a boss on long legs, and a enemy that steals Mario's hat, which is a pretty standard one for Mario games.
At least it wasn't a monkey that steals Mario's hat.
Yeah, exactly. The placeholder text in the game's data includes lyrics from the 1928 song I Want to Be Loved by You and 1961 Stand By Me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Awesome songs. Why not?
There's a lot of different Pianta colours in the code, which were not used in the final game. The Piantas kind of kept the same couple of colours, but there is in the game's files for a full rainbow spectrum of Pianta.
I'm glad they scaled it down, because I think if you had introduced too many colours, it would have been a bit much. They feel a lot more, again, we love this word, coherent.
It might have clashed.
That's a good word for this game, coherent.
Yes.
But it might have clashed with each other, it might have looked out of place, whereas as they all have the same sort of tones, and it's more, say, the outfits can be a bit more, they're all obviously resorty or like holiday-ish, but they can be a bit more interesting if needs be. Yeah.
Toads in this game were going to wear sunglasses, or at least there are sunglasses for Toads in the game files.
I guess that about the Mario design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know that maybe at least one Toad would have worn sunglasses at some point. There is a cut football and goal in the game files, as well as the animation for scoring. There's random fruit above and below some stages. So if you get out of bounds, there's just fruit there.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the red coins in a bottle mission, there is a fake door that can't be opened. And if you click behind it, there's just a book. Both the door and book are not objects, but part of the level geometry. So there's speculation as to what this could have been for, the most common being that originally the area was not going to be a red coin stage, but there was going to be something to do with retrieving the book from behind the door.
Yeah.
To market this game, Nintendo of America broke the Guinness World Record for biggest plate of pasta ever served, giving out 3,265 pounds, or just over 1,480 kilograms, of spaghetti.
They use pasta for merchandise, for
spaghetti.
Marketing. Spaghetti for marketing.
It's Mario.
I feel like I say this a lot, but sure. I think some people might just like a bit of exclusive content, or like a nice little statue or something. But sure, break records.
Well, some of them did, because fans dressed like Mario dove into the spaghetti to get prizes, which included a trip to Hawaii.
Oh wow! Okay, that actually sounds like fun.
Imagine being sat in your resort in Hawaii and it's like, so what brings you to Hawaii? Well, it's
a world record holding size of spaghetti.
Dressed like Mario, rummaging for prizes.
Typical holiday plans.
Typical stuff, it's pretty average how boring and everyday my reason for being here is. Game data suggests there was going to be a train system in Isle Delfino to get around, and a number of train stations similar to Chuffy in Banjo-Tooie.
I would not be against that. That would have been pretty cool. But it feels like the island would have had to be a lot bigger to really compensate that, or that would have been the way to get to new worlds. But I like the idea.
Yeah, and it's different because unlike Banjo, which you can continue in a level once you get a Jiggy, this game kicks you out after each one, so I'm not sure how it would have worked with kind of the Mario style of missions. The difficulty of Super Mario Sunshine is different in different regions, which does happen. They do it with games sometimes. They've done it with the Mega Man games a few times.
Don't say the English version is the easiest.
But certain level conditions are stricter for Japanese players, and in the European version, some platforms move faster, which makes it more difficult.
Thank goodness for that, because I think this game is hard. And if you're about to tell me this was the easiest version of this game, I think I might have cried.
No, it's I think it's made easier in some ways, made more difficult in some ways, is what I could infer from it, but I might be wrong. There was research into if playing violent, regular, or, quote, pro-social video games affected one's helpfulness, with Super Mario Sunshine and Chibi Robo being used as examples of pro-social games.
Okay.
Afterwards, participants were asked to give their partner a series of puzzles to complete from a range that included easy to hard challenges. Their partners would receive a prize if they succeeded. The result was that those who played the pro-social games, Mario Sunshine and Chibi Robo, were more likely to give their partners easier puzzles, and scientists concluded that these people were more likely to be helpful to others.
Oh my goodness. Did this research hold up? But that is interesting, but I feel like there's lots of holes in that research.
I feel like it's one of those ones where if you looked over the methodology, you might find some gaps. I'm not even sure I'd consider Mario Sunshine a pro-social game. Like I said, I think it's a difficult game. I'd just be angry. I'd be like, well, I just had to do that Sandbird level for the 50th time. You get the hard puzzle. Fuck you. Right, on to legacy / our opinion. In Japan, more than 400,000 copies of Super Mario Sunshine were sold within the first 4 days. In the US, more than 350,000 copies were sold within the first 10 days of release, surpassing launch sales of PlayStation 2's Grand Theft Auto 3, Xbox's Halo, and Super Mario 64, and it also helped to boost hardware sales of the GameCube.
Wow.
In Europe, 175,000 units were sold within a week of its release. By the end of October 2002, in Japan, 624,240 units have been sold. So the game came out in July. By the end of October, it sold over 500,000. In 2002, Super Mario Sunshine was the 10th best-selling game in the United States. It was re-released in 2003 as part of the Player's Choice line, a selection of games with high sales sold for a reduced price. By June 2006, over 5.5 million copies had been sold worldwide. Despite strong sales numbers, Satoru Iwata confirmed at E3 2003 that the game's sales, along with those of Metroid Prime, had failed to live up to the company's expectations.
So regardless of all that.
Yeah, so I don't think it sold too bad.
No, definitely compared to other games out on other consoles, and for Mario. Well, but maybe for a Mario game, it wasn't very good.
Well, I don't have any of the other Mario game sales in front of me. I think Galaxy surpassed 10 million, but for context of what they were probably expecting, Ocarina of Time sold 7.6 million.
Yeah, but how many... I'm sorry, you can't expect an Ocarina of Time sort of game every time you make a game.
No, but they had.
They do, yeah.
Because that was only a couple of years ago for them.
Yeah.
Like other games in the Mario series, people have made challenges for this game, such as completing the game without the flood.
Oh, goodness, okay. Yeah.
Which seems difficult, which I think maybe exemplifies why the hover nozzle was right to be included. The game introduced many ideas that become recurring staples of Mario games, the most notable being Bowser Jr., like we've discussed, although shine sprites pop up throughout the Mario series. And when we talk about Galaxy in a few weeks, that has the return of the Cataquacks. And whilst it's not Shadow Mario, it will have the Cosmic Mario races instead, which Cosmic Mario is very similar looking. PT Piranha is introduced in this game as a boss, and was reused as a character in Mario Kart Double Dash. He was in Super Smash Bros. Brawl as a boss, and in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as the final smash for the Piranha Plant character.
He's also in Mario Galaxy, wasn't he?
No, so that was Dino Piranha. So they'd evolved. It wasn't.
It was the same sort of concept, wasn't it? But
it was the same concept, but they made a new one.
Yeah, they added a tail to it.
Yeah.
But I always thought they looked... Of course, I played Galaxy before I played this game. So when I saw it in this game, it did make me think of the Galaxy one.
Yeah. And of course, this game was re-released as part of Super Mario 3D All-Stars for the Switch, as we said, which was in September 2020, where it had been changed to be widescreen, but they hadn't bothered to redo certain things. So the cutscene, as you'd have seen, where Flood teaches you the basic controls, in the GameCube version says, press X to do this. Whereas they just cut it awkwardly, so he just goes, press to do this. Just seemed like a bit of a quick job. But it's been obviously upscaled, but it's not a proper remaster. The Switch re-release is just a port, really. I think this game is fine, but I don't think it's great. When this game is good, it's really good. Like, some of the movement options in it, like, once you get into, like, flowing moves, it can be really fun to wall jump, dive, wall jump, jump. Like, and you can do a little spin jump as well if you, like, move the stick around in a circle really quickly. And when you're in the flow of that, it can be really good. But unfortunately, that's split in my mind by missions which are either really dreary or annoying or confusing to beat. You can unfortunately tell in places that the game was made in a short period of time because there is clipping and glitches that can occur in, I think, higher numbers than a modern Mario game, as well as a low number of overall worlds, some of which have multiple red coin stars, something that, you know, there was only one red coin star per level in Mario 64. Some of these now have like 2 or 3 or 4 red coin stars. I'm probably negatively impacted because, like you, I played Galaxy before Sunshine. But I can see why this game is considered the black sheep of the series by some, although I do get why people love it. And I feel like actually Odyssey takes a lot of these ideas and what it wanted to do with its movement especially, and really polished it and made it better. Moons being everywhere in Odyssey feels like a natural evolution of the fact that blue coins are in this game and they're everywhere. And it's far better implemented because one of the reasons I'd never really be up for 100%ing Sunshine a lot is that some of the, like, you get blue coins from shooting water at, like, blue birds, and, like, I wouldn't think to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a bit obtuse at times. Whereas I think Moons feels like a really natural evolution of the ideas. Like, this game, what I like about this game is it's not afraid to be weird, but I just prefer the other 3D Mario games. What do you think, Vicky?
So, there's lots of things I do like about this game, which is surprising when I bring up some of the things I don't like about this game. I was very excited to play this game, and when you got the All-Stars collection, out of all the Mario games, of course, I played Mario 64 as a kiddywink, I've played Mario Galaxy, so Mario Sunshine was the one I wanted to play. I wanted to experience it, I wanted to play it. The different storyline, the different look, it all attracted me to the game. I thought it was a great concept. Unfortunately, that's where my praise ends, because, yeah, I might like the look of the game, I might like the concept of the game, but actually playing the game has turned out to be a lot more difficult than I first thought. I found this game quite hard. In some levels, it was just easier for me to look up. I don't particularly like looking up what to do. I'd like to experience myself. I'd like to explore and see if I can work it out on my own, because that's the whole point in playing a game. But I found quite a few levels where the solution was not obvious. And that really put a drag on playing the game, even on those easier levels. Now, of course, I haven't finished the game, which I do intend to do, because I've started now and I do intend to finish it. But there's still certain levels I cannot see myself 100% in this game. I know you haven't. And that most Mario games, I feel, even the more difficult levels, even Odyssey, with like Dark Side of the Moon and Dark Side of the Moon, there's still stuff that I would attempt. And in Mario Galaxy, you've got those comets.
Yeah, the prankster comets.
And like the one that you have one life. So
yeah.
That's really difficult. I'm still willing to give it a shot. I think some of the hang-ups I have about this game is the controls. I don't find some of the controls as natural, as I think I'm used to playing more traditional Mario games, so this has broken that, and in my head I'll be like, right, if I, crouch down, then I can make it over this wall. Why can't I crouch down? Oh yeah, no, it's FLUDD, isn't it? So I can't crouch down. Stuff like that. Stuff that I'm just used to having in a Mario game. So I really like the originality and the fact that it's Suns and they've tried something different. I like that. But at the same time, it wouldn't be my first 3D Mario to choose. And I've got to admit, to calm myself down between annoying levels or when I feel like I've got stuck, I've been playing Mario Galaxy on the All-Stars. And been enjoying it a lot more.
Yeah, and it might just be us, because the game was very well received at the time. There's a lot of people that love it, so do let us know in the comments if it's just us. Let us know what you think, dear viewer. I think the way I would describe it is when something wasn't going right. When something's not going right in Galaxy, I'm thinking, I'm messing this up. When something's going right in Sunshine, I'm thinking, this game's not very well designed, because it's not clear what I'm supposed to do, so I'm just throwing myself at it over and over, hoping something a bit different will happen.
Yeah.
I think it's just, you can just tell where possibly it was rushed in places and just maybe not as polished as maybe we've come to expect in recent years with more recent Mario games. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. You can also follow us on our Twitter account at ABK Studios, and please subscribe if you haven't already to this YouTube page. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we do like to hear your comments because everyone has different experiences for Mario games, and it's just interesting for us to see if our feelings of particular games are universal or it was just us. We were just being silly and we didn't think it through. We do like to hear your comments, so please comment below. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, Just Dance is the game we're covering. That's not an instruction to you.
Well, you can take it as an instruction. You can just
dance.
You can join us for a bit.
You don't even have to wait a week if all you want to do is dance. Let no one stop you from dancing.
Be you, but...
but in the meantime, I've been Phill.
And I've been Vicky. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening. We will see you next week for another new episode of Big Nostalgia.
Bye.
Bye.